Hi, this is Karen Brower. Thank you for joining me. This is the third of our series in the owl ornaments. This is our little barn owl that we're going to be doing today. If you enjoy this video, please press subscribe and like my YouTube channel, Karen Brower Designs. It's free. Also, I'll be painting this little owl as a cutout ornament on my Facebook page, Karen Brower Pearly Designs, if you want to watch that as well. All right, so the same thing as last week, we've transferred the pattern on the bauble and I've base coated it in milk chocolate, bleach sand, black, and here in this beak, some warm beige. So the first thing that we're going to do is start adding shadows, and I'm going to add shadows into this little face area. So I'm going to come with some milk chocolate first. I'm going to use an angle shader. I'm going to side load it, and then I'm going to float some colour. And we can do messy little floats. They don't have to be nice and tidy. They can be if you like. So I'm just going to come in and float around the edge here. Float around here. The really secret of this lovely little barn owl is getting the shape of his heart face right. Now, if you don't have milk chocolate, you can do this in raw sienna. Now I'm also going to bring it down here. On the side. Now I'm also going to bring it around the eyes. And bring it around the eyes. Now there's an area here up next to the beak. So I'm going to come under this little area, down under the beak, and then up into this area as well. All right, so this is our first lot of shadows that can be in raw sienna or milk chocolate. Now when it's dry, I'm going to come with some burnt sienna. And I'm going to come and bring burnt sienna around this eye again. It's mainly around the eyes and under the beak with the burnt sienna, not necessarily around the hair, the headline here, the heart. Coming around. And we're bringing it down. So it's mainly just with the burnt sienna around the eyes. You can walk it out a little bit too, because we're going to be painting the shadows. Painting into the shadows, sorry, I should say. All right, so then we're going to let that dry. Sorry, fiddling again, aren't I? Here I go. Now we're going to come with some bittersweet chocolate. I'm going to bring a little bit of bittersweet chocolate around this edge. And down. You can see it's quite watery. Don't make it solid. And some bittersweet chocolate up and around. the edge of the little heart face. Bringing it around. And then I am going to bring this under this bottom part of the eye here, down the side here, under the beak, up the side here, and then around just the bottom part of the eye. I'm also going to use a little bit of bittersweet chocolate, and I'm going to come and just float a little bit around this edge here onto the milk chocolate on the outside of the little heart here. Just bring in a bit of shadow here. When I have a colour in my paintbrush, I sort of like to move it around a little bit, look at areas that it's going to be in. And I know it's actually going to be on the bauble too, so I'm going to bring a little bit here onto the bauble. And on the shadow here. This is bittersweet chocolate. It's a dark brown. Also going to bring some bittersweet chocolate I can see onto the beak here as well. I should have brought a little bit of burnt sienna onto that beak as well. So I'm just going to tap some burnt sienna back onto that beak, down the edge here, down this edge here. This is where you can use a rake or an old filbert. Just excuse me 1 minute, I'm just going to pause. I have a really old filbert or a really old round that I love, and I've made them in a way into a rake. So you can either use a rake or a whisk brush, a comb brush, or an old brush that you have that you like to spray apart. I'm going to come in with some warm white. And I'm going to make it a little bit inky. I'm going to push that brush down and spray it out. You can see that I'm spraying it out. And I'm separating all those little bristles, hairs in the brush. Then I'm going to keep that brush vertical and use a really soft touch. You can see the brush is quite vertical. And I'm going to start to bring in some feathers. Now, of course, I like to turn my work. Look directionally, most of the time they're coming to this corner spot of the eye here. This little spot just here. See, I'm turning. We're coming up to this point, straightening a little bit here. Bringing them in, softening it in. Look at the direction. This is the most important thing with his little face, is getting these feathers going the right way. Okay, so over here too. Bring it in. Again, looking at the direction. Now I'm going to pick up some titanium white. And I'm going to bring titanium white into the feathers. So I'm doing the same thing, pushing down, inky consistency. I'll show you again. Pushing down. It's an old brush. Even with the comb or rake, I will do this. Holding that brush vertical, soft touch. I'm going to start and bring some of these white feathers in now. Look, you're probably going to lose your shadow. You can see I'm not concerned. I know that I'm going to be layering. Sorry if my hand's in the way. I do apologise. Soft touch. Sometimes if you have it too watery or too inky, you won't get little feathers showing. But don't push hard. Again, we're watching that direction, spinning it around. Okay, we're watching that direction, spinning it around. And then I'm going to wait for him to dry. All right, so we're starting to put some colour in there. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to come and work on the back head area here, and I'm going to pick up some milk chocolate, and I'm going to use my Dynasty 200. It's like a dome brush. I call it a smooshing brush. And I'm going to just smoosh some colour in. So you load up on a bit of paper towel or a tea towel. I just sort of tap off that excess. And then I'm going to come in, just dry brush colour around. I'm going to pick up a little bit of burnt sienna on my brush. And I'm just going to bring a little bit of burnt sienna just around the shadow edge line, I would call it, where we've done that little bit of float. I'm going to pick up a bit of raw sienna, tap that excess off, and I'm going to lightly bring in the highlight area of raw sienna. Especially going to bring some of that raw sienna just around this edge here. Raw sienna around that edge. I'm going to mix a bit of honey brown in with that raw sienna. And I'm going to bring some honey brown into the lighter sections. And if you do become too light, you can always come back with some milk chocolate or some raw sienna, burnt sienna, any colours back. We can just dry brush any bit of colour. I like to do a little bit of finger painting there. Now, these beautiful barn owls do have an absolute shimmer on their coat. So I like to have some of that raw sienna, honey brown mix in my brush, but I'm going to pick up some 24 karat gold. You could use champagne gold, any gold that you might like, and I'm going to shimmer some gold up on this top section and around here. Now I put a little bit of gold here. You can see there where I don't really want it. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of burnt sienna And see how I can just soften it back. Pick up a bit of milk chocolate or a bit of raw sienna. Any colour, you know, that we can just kick it back if we do. Bring it too far down or bring it to where we want. We can just dry brush colour back. Now we've done that while we're waiting for it all to dry. So again, I'm going to come now with a little round brush. And I'm going to get some warm beige, which is like a fleshy colour. A bit of burnt sienna and mix it together, giving us this nice shading flesh colour. And I'm just going to dry brush some of this onto the beak. I'm also going to make it lighter now by just some flesh tone. I'm going to pick up some flesh tone, take the excess off. And I'm going to come and lighten his little beak. And I particularly lighten, you can see down that middle area, just a little bit to the outside edges. Keeping it dark up in this area where the feathers are, and lightening down to the tip. I'm going to pick up a little bit of black, and this is where I'm going to come and reshape my black eyes in as well, because I've made a bit of a mess. We're going to come in and just reshape those eyes. I sort of look at areas that I want to work on while I'm waiting for somewhere to dry. Just making sure I get the shape of the eyes nice. They have really big eyes. And I've always found when I've done these, sorry, I really don't like the shape of that one. There you go. Even the painters can make a mistake. Good old cotton bud or Q-tip. These eyes are really important. There we go. That's better. Could always, I'm going to float shadows back as well. So now I'm going to pick up some on my round or a liner brush, a bit of sweet chocolate. And I'm going to come and thickly lay a thick dribble, this little thick edge that you see around here, on him. So I'm using a bit of sweet chocolate. Bringing it around, bringing it down into here. Bringing it around all the way. It's quite thick, wiggly woggly, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm bringing it into there. Now I'm going to come back with a little bit of burnt sienna. Just I'm going to come and refloat around his eyes. You can see it's very watery. Okay, I'm going to refloat around his eye. You can see it's very watery. Okay, and I'm going to come and refloat under the beak and around. I'm going to come with a little bit of that honey brown again, and this is just in case, or sorry, raw sienna, you've lost a bit of colour. You can just come and lightly wash some of the different colours back in. So just if your raking was too solid together, we don't have any little wisp of colour just showing through. You can see little tints and washes of colour that I like to put onto him. Okay, we can just throw a little bit back into that base. Then you can come with a mixture of burnt sienna and a touch of bittersweet chocolate. Burnt sienna and bittersweet chocolate, even 1 to 1. Or if you wanted to, you could put milk chocolate out. Basically pretty close, that's what we're making. Sometimes I just get lazy, and if I've got a colour there, I just mix the colours together and sort of don't put out that another colour, because I know I can mix them together to make that colour. So I'm bringing this mix of burnt sienna and bittersweet chocolate, or if you prefer not to do a mix and put out dark chocolate, you can do that as well. And so I'm going to put in some shadows in. Come around here. Bring that shadow around that eye. Just try not to get a hard line. You can do that messy float. If my friend Linda would be watching this, she'd be having a heart attack. And I can pull some of those little bits down and about, because I know I'm going to be pulling white back over the top. If I look at where I might want a bit of shadow up and around, a bit of colour. If I think I definitely want a little bit more dark, I'm going to come with that bittersweet chocolate. I'm going to bring it across here. And I'm going to bring some bittersweet chocolate. Just a little bit across here. Right. Sometimes I just like to tap little bits of colour in. That's going to be where, watching the direction, the little feathers will separate. And then I'm going to leave him. You can use your favourite liner, any liner that you are happy with. That I always say to everyone has a favourite liner, a liner that they like to use all the time. So you're going to get your liner and some titanium white, and don't make it too inky. You just want to make it like thicken cream a little bit, you know, like so it comes off your brush, but you're still going to have a little bit of, not too watery. And again, holding that brush vertical, we're going to start to bring in some of these feathers. Now you can see I'm pulling them from the outside into the shadow. Now, if you have a nice liner, you should be able to get a lot of little strokes done with it. And again, we are really interested in the directions of the strokes. And you can see I'm pulling from the outside edge into the shadows, sort of getting lighter as I'm pulling into those shadows. Little soft strokes. You can see the directions that I'm doing. And of course, I like to turn my work. I like to pull my hands towards myself. Though look, in sometimes on this face too, I will definitely pull from the other way. Here, I'm going to put some little strokes here, softening that hard edge, pulling them down. So it's just lots of little strokes now. Notice I'm pulling from the other angle as well. And again, you can see I'm going to pull from this way. Get it where I don't like it. I can soften it back with my finger. Or worst comes to worst, I'll come and refloat it later. That's better. Bring some more shadow back if I need to. So we're coming in and just doing lots of little strokes. And I might layer this a few times, let it dry and come with more white. As long as I'm getting different values of white and it's not again becoming just a white base coat, you know, we definitely don't want that. Otherwise we start all over again and we bring all those floats back. Which, I mean, you can do lots and lots of layers on this. You know, for a realistic barn owl, I have done many, many layers. We have a beautiful sanctuary here near where I live called Moonlit Sanctuary. And one of the special things is when I have American friends or friends here, even from interstate, we go to the sanctuary and you can actually hold the barn owl and have photos done with him and get to pet him. His name's Hootie. He's very, very cute. And a lot of my barn owl pictures have been taken while we've been at the sanctuary, holding him and being able to pet him. He's quite beautiful. So you can see I'm pulling them in. Again, I'm going to pull from that way, and then I'm going to pull from this way. Okay, I'm going to look at this. And then I'm going to come and add these little ones here. Bring some little hairs down here on this face. I painted so many of these little owls, and I think every time I do them, they always get a different little expression on them. And I always say too, if you want him to look like a little baby owlet, give him very big eyes. You know, the bigger the eyes, the more an animal looks like a baby. That's a bit too much shadow there. I'm just going to get rid of that bit. So again, I'm still coming with that white. I particularly like to whiten around the edges. Again, there's a blob I'm going to get rid of. Use a finger. I think I must have liked finger painting when I was a little kid. You can see I'm bringing those whites in. And I can just keep layering and layering. This is where, like I said, I like to pull from different angles. I want to emphasize these little guys here. I'm putting some more solid little ones in here. And I'll bring some more solid little ones in here. Some solid little ones in here. And then I'll just keep coming back and adding white where I would like to put it. If I think I need just some little whispers here, and I'll just tap a few into that little bit of shadow. I'm going to use some of that white, and I'm going to dry brush a bit of highlight on that beak. Actually, I'm going to mix a little bit of white to warm beige first and just dry brush a bit on. Just dry brush. Don't go up into your shadow area. A little bit of white on the tip of the beak here. Okay. Now I'm going to pick up some milk chocolate or raw sienna. And I'm going to dry brush a little C stroke on his eye. I'm going to come and do the other eye. I'm going to do a little C stroke. And just a little C stroke on that eye. Okay, so we're just putting that in. While we wait for that to dry, I'm going to come in with some black, and I'm going to add actually a bit of black and burn umber. Some little, I don't know what they are, little pivots, little things he's got on the top of his head. You want to do that. If you need to bring any of that bittersweet chocolate touch of black back onto these edges here, you can bring that back in. I'm going to use my liner and I'm going to come into that titanium white and I'm going to thickly just dab, push and lift, hold that brush vertically. Some uneven little swirls. Sorry, I'm going to turn my work here. You should be able to see a better hand position. Push and lift, push and lift, push and lift, push and lift. You see, I'm not just doing it. It's not the same hand movement. My brush is vertical, but I'm actually pushing down pressure and laying that brush down in spots and then lifting it so I get a fine little point, and then I push it back down and then bring it back up and push it back down. Just so we don't end up with a perfect straight little line, we get this nice uneven little line. If I need a bit more white in that beak, I'm going to add a bit more white. And if you want to shadow underneath a little bit more, you can always come back and I can come back with a little bit bittersweet chocolate. Make it very watery. I'll wash a bit of bittersweet chocolate back under that beak and under this eye here. You can see how thin it is. It's just little glazes that I do. I'm going to pick up a little bit of milk chocolate and I'm just going to highlight a little bit of the eye, which is called the reflective light of where the shine will be. I'm also going to lighten these little dots on the top of his head with a little bit of light white. I wait for every area to dry that I'm sort of been working on. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to come in with that 24 karat gold and I'm going to lighten up my bauble. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of white and add a bit of highlight onto that bauble too. Now, when it's all dry, I'm going to come with some water, just a little bit of moisture, and I'm just going to tap a little bit into the eye. And while it's wet, I'm going to do a little white dot. And that little white dot is going to blur. We can tap it out a little bit more if we want. What we don't want is what I call a teddy bear dot. You know, you don't want to come in with a stylus and go dot like that. We want him to look a little bit realistic. So we're wetting where we're going to put the shine. We're just making it moist. And we're going to pick up that little bit of white And we're going to lay it where we want the highlight. Now I can use a little bit of brush with nothing on it and tap it if I want to soften that outside edge. Okay, then I look at him and think, all right, now it's still from where I put these shadows here, I'm going to bring a little bit more white. I'll just lightly use my liner. And so I'm going to bring a little bit more white here. And again, you can change your position, change your hand position. You can pull some of the strokes towards you and also pull some of the strokes the opposite way. You know, I'm still pulling towards me, aren't I? Sorry about that. But I've turned the owl, so my direction of the stroke is sort of changing a little bit, where I end the stroke and start the stroke. Then you get a bit of variety instead of the strokes all looking the same. You get a bit of variety. Again, if I need more strokes, just in here, I can lighten that up. Just bring some more in here if I want to add a bit of light in that little bottom area of his feathers there. I can pull some more back. And then basically look at him and decide, or her, if it's wide enough for you. If you want to bring gold into this face area, you can bring a shimmer of gold, wash some gold over it. It doesn't really shine gold too much on his face. There is a nice, you could even use pearl white if you prefer. But he does have that beautiful bit of gold in his back. Now I've got a bit of white in my brush here. I am just going to accentuate a little bit of a shine on that highlight part. That's it. Now we've got him looking at us. Well, I hope you enjoyed painting a little barn owl bauble. Next week, we're going to do the horned owl. So again, if you like the video, please push subscribe. It's free. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you. Bye.